Hey friends, over 60% of you are listening to me right now on an Apple product. iPhone, iPad, iTunes. I need your help. The truth is, Apple will make this podcast more discoverable to new listeners the more reviews it has. So I'm here asking you to take a moment and leave a review. If you've gained any value from this podcast, the greatest thing you can do for it, besides spreading the word and telling friends, is leaving a review. It's real simple. If you're on your phone, head over to my podcast page within the Apple Podcast app and leave a review. Or if you're on a computer, you can head over to my podcast page within the iTunes app. That's it. That's all I ask. And if you have other podcasts that you love, do them a favor and do the same for them. It'll make their day. Now let's get this podcast started already. That show was a wild mess. I've been going through clips of that thing. And what I'm doing is, I know you kind of came in late on the show's history, but what I've been doing is I was talking way back years ago about how I was going to do like a best of, like a history of the show. Kind of like, I don't know if you ever heard like the history of Howard Stern. It was like a 10-part series, like an audio documentary. And I did one of these for the shoot back in 2008, like the first year of the shoot. And what I noticed was how cool it sounded. I really enjoyed the sound of it. And so I did one for the shoot, and it turned out really, really well. And I always wanted to do another part, but I never, ever did a part 2. So then, like, when the show came back in 2013, 2014, I was like, I'm going to do just one great big one. Like, I'm just going to redo the first part. I've got all the people that were a part of the first year. I already have them recorded. I can resplice them in, retell the story, add the new people, the Chris's and all these people, Diamond K and everybody. And then I just never did it. I never did it. So I'm now actively working on that.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so I just got in touch with Chris again. First time I heard from that guy in a while. And so he's going to record his parts. And so everybody's just recorded me their parts, and they sent them to me. And I've got the audio, and I'm just dragging and dropping and putting a little music, and I'm talking over this. And it's going to be massive, man. It's going to be like a 6 to 8 month project. The last one took me 4 months to do, and that was only covering 1 year. Imagine 10 years of history.
And is this going to be multi-part series?
It's going to have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this, and we'll get into this here because I think you hit me up one time about this show. I think you were listening to like a band one, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be like that times a million. I mean, because there's like so much more ground to cover, I think.
Yeah.
It's a longer history, but people are going to download this podcast and they're going to be like, okay, who's this Brian Foster guy? And on the shoot, a lot of people heard some of our story, but virtually no one from that show is listening to this show. So it's almost like we have to reintroduce people to who you are. There'll be a few people that get it. I still have a few of the old people that tune in, but for the people that may not know just who you are, and I know I'm building you up like you're some celebrity and you're just one of my friends, but for the people that do not know who you are, how do you know me? How do you what is our connection for people that don't know?
All right. Well,
I'm sorry, because I know how I would frame it.
Okay,
but I like to hear how other people frame it.
Yeah, I guess last time we did this, you framed it, so yes. I'll put it the way I remember. So
perfect.
We've just been great friends for since I was 15, so about
2003.
So 15 years now.
15.
Wow.
Okay, so we're in what, May, right?
Yeah.
We met in March or April. I want to say April.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Fucking
15 years.
15 years, dude.
I didn't even realize it.
Wow. See, this is. I'm glad we're doing this now. It's our 15-year anniversary.
There you go.
Happy anniversary, boo.
Yeah, you too. Love ya.
Love you, man. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was playing bass, and I was like doing lessons, and I wanted to start a band. I was finally at the part with me and the previous member of the band I was in. We wanted to start a serious band, and we had started a little 3-piece band that wasn't very good, but my mom knew, and I guess she was in Best Buy looking for some CDs to put in my Easter basket.
Yeah.
And she found these two knuckleheads, Gary and Jason Agatone.
Yes.
Were like, you like this kind of music? They're looking at, my mom was looking at like Glassjaw or some stuff like that you guys were into.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, if you like that kind of music, can you give me a recommendation for my son? And you picked like the Finch, What It Is to Burn, which is a great record.
You actually
Classic.
liked that record?
I thought it was, yeah.
No, I'm saying I love it.
Yeah.
I'm saying I love it, but like when we first started talking, it seemed like you were into like way heavier stuff, and like bringing Finch would almost be uncool to somebody like you, I thought.
No, I liked it.
Okay, great.
I liked it.
All right, carry on.
So like my mom got your guys' phone numbers and said that told you about me and my friend Mike, who he's a drummer, I'm a bassist. You both were guitarists.
Mike, who used to steal condoms from my CVS. Which he told me.
Oh,
he's like, you're the photo guy. He's like, yeah, I used to steal condoms from that store.
I'm shocked he was using them.
Yeah, well, that's a different story for a different day.
I love Mike though. Mike's
love you, Mike.
A good guy. So yeah, I guess we one day I called you, cold call you, and
something like. I feel like we probably talked to Jason because he was kind of like a ringleader for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and I was the more vocal one with
your half.
Yeah. And so I guess we just agreed to we went to the Atreyu show before we ever jammed.
Yeah, we did hang out. First? We did hang out once. It was Atreyu, 18 Visions, Jax.
Yes.
Was there anybody else notable on that bill, or was it just those guys? And those are the only two that I remember.
I know. I think there was another band. But
obviously, there was probably two or three other ones, but I just don't remember who they were.
It may have been like some of those like local mall metal bands, like Saint Diablo, or I don't know.
Now you're bringing back names to me.
But that was a cool show. That was like before those bands had blown up. 18 Visions hadn't blown up at all, really. And Atreyu was still wearing like red eyeliner, and
that was a year before The Curse, man.
Yeah,
that was a huge record. I mean, people will say what they will about it because I know the hardcore fans are like, oh, screw that, I like the early stuff, but that was a great record.
Yeah, I think
The
so
Curse,
too.
Yeah. So but yeah. So we hung out at that show. I guess we were kind of I have vague memory about that show, but like I feel like we were vibing, but I don't know if like we were so sure about you or maybe you were so sure about us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, we were feeling it out. Like nothing, it wasn't like anything negative. We were just feeling it out, I think.
Back then, you were clean shaven. You had the little hair swoof down in your face kind of deal.
Yep. Always
painting the nails.
Always dyed that one swoop down patch, one color, and it would be whatever color my friend Megan Perrin would dye her whole head. So if I'd come in pink, she'd be like, damn it, I got to do pink now.
I'm gonna find one of those pictures, and that's gonna be the picture on Instagram to promote this podcast.
Oh, I have them. Don't worry.
Okay, great. You might have stuff that I don't have. I don't know.
Might, yeah.
We might have to compare notes. I have the first show we did, and then I have like a few random shots of just me because somehow, and I deeply regret this, but as weird as this sounds, I was so shy in many ways in the band days, but I was also kind of narcissistic in a way. Like when photos would come, whether it was our band or another band I was in, I would only save the photos with me in it.
Yeah.
But that, in a sense now, that kind of pisses me off because I'm kind of like, man, I wish I had these other photos, you know, the more complete stuff. But anyway, so we had, you had the clean shaven, you had the hair. I remember this because I saw the pictures. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a throwback. Because now you're all like Rico Suave. Sometimes you have the hair slicked back. You got the facial hair, trying to look all smooth and stuff. But so I remember that. And then we had the first practice. I remember.
Yeah,
I think we had the name and everything by the end of that. Like we went to Silver Diner or something.
We were debating. Remember, Jason's girlfriend wanted to name the band Ophelia's Suicide. After like what is it, Macbeth or some Shakespeare play, and
well, Macbeth was like a popular shoe back then. Somebody had like Atticus and Macbeth and all these.
Yeah,
God, if Ophelia's Suicide doesn't take you back to 03, I don't know what will. Good Lord.
He got so mad because when he dropped this on us, he goes, well, too bad I already made the website. And we're like, what? And he like shows us he had made a whole website for a band name that no one else in the band was like, yeah, that's the one.
This is also the guy that thought it was a good idea to have the Youth Machine as a band name.
Oh, no.
Could you imagine if that would have clicked and he and I are in our 40s still playing as the Youth Machine?
Yeah, that's...
And by the way,
pedophilia.
Jason, if you somehow stumble on this, I'm not throwing shots. I'm just poking fun. Relax.
Yeah, that's all.
I have a nugget about that. We'll get to that as we go.
I
in
can't
time.
wait.
Yeah. So we had the band practice, but the Ghost in the Gear's name, I think that was also part. Who had that name? Was that him or was it somebody else?
I can't remember. I wanna say that was Jason.
He's probably screaming like, "That's my name. That's my name."
But the thing is, that was also the name of a like Ferret Records or one of those like record companies compilation albums to showcase each one of their artists.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was called Ghost in the Gears. Because I remember I'd go to, if you remember, innerpunk.com. And
so Northern Virginia's finest.
No, yep. And whenever I'd type it in, that album would come up.
I'll have to look that up now. You got me curious. I'm going to have to Google that.
It's a thing.
We used to go to Silver Diner all the time. I remember this. Me
Yeah.
and you and the guys, and I'd see John Felter there all the time, and the whole crew. Everybody would show up to this place,
Smoking cigarettes.
Back
when you could in a restaurant.
Back when you could. It was not me, folks. For the record, I'm not a cigarette
Gary
smoker.
was not.
But I remember Sean, my friend Sean. We met up, and this is where like you have like different friend groups that like cross each other's paths, and we had our weird friend James who showed up, and he like drinks somebody's like mono out of a glass or something. Like there was like a piece of French toast. There was like spit, ashes.
It was like spit, ashes, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, like all these
Somebody had
condiments,
mono,
jelly. Yeah, like
and they
somebody that
coughed
had
in it.
monos like spit a loogie in this cocktail. And this guy was like, I don't know, he's like on the spectrum or something.
This is
But
2003, folks. It's lit.
he drank it, and I couldn't have been for more than $10 or $15 or something like that. I
my
think.
God. When I thought Silver Diner, that's like immediately the first story that comes to mind whenever I think of Silver Diner. It's so weird.
I mean, I have a bunch just because I worked there for two and a half years. But.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we did that first Jack show. I remember that. I have pictures of that. The stupid Static Lullaby hair that I tried to copy
I
off.
love it.
That I make
I
fun
love
of all.
that hair.
I do too. I loved it on him. I didn't love it on me.
I think you could still rock it now. You kind of have it a little in the front, just not the weird back. Yeah, what you got is good.
I like what I have now. What I had then is I was always trying to like a different hairstyle. Like sometimes I let it grow long, and I thought it was Adam Lazzara from Taking Back Sunday, and I'd swing the mic around. And God damn, there was a thing when I was in Starlit Eyes. When I became a front man, and I swung the mic around and whipped Chris Bolin right in the face, and like he busted open his lip at a show at Janet's Java or something. He like just swung it around. It's like boom.
Now that was when I think you were really in the narcissistic band phase, when you became front man.
Good Lord, yes. This is the whole podcast. I was talking to this was months ago. I know we just got married, and congratulations, Chris Brennan, the other Chris of that band. And at some point, we're going to get together and do a podcast.
Oh, yeah. I actually went to college with him.
Did you
after
really?
all this. Yeah, him and I were good friends. Chops.
Chops, yeah. Everybody knows him as Chops.
Yeah, we'd always party in college.
He's still got the sideburns, doesn't he?
Yeah. People call me Chops, but my shit just grows in all like trashy like this, like as Joe Dirt says.
Joe Dirt. I love it. No, I think you're right, dude. I think you're absolutely right. That was also a time when I was really in like a dark phase. Like I was, okay, this is the weird thing, and I don't think I've ever like shared this on the podcast, but Fuck it. This is my life, and I'm not perfect. But no, 10 years ago, that was the last band I was in. 11 years ago, excuse me. Last band I was in, and these kids, I call them kids because they were still in high school.
They were, yeah.
And I was like, God, 10 years ago, I was like 25, 26, man, hanging out with these kids. And I was like married, but nobody knew. This is a big secret because I had this big insecurity where I would actually take off the ring and I'd put it in my pocket.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to look like the old, uncool guy.
Oh, you mean around the other band members you do
at shows.
Well, yeah.
Which, of course, prompted a talking to girls and all this stuff, and I was not perfect, and I've been an open book about that. But, I would take off the ring and put it in my pocket, and, I mean, I just felt so trashy for it. And it was funny because you were at my wedding. Obviously, you were part of my wedding, and I gave a big speech about that. I'm like, this thing used to be an embarrassment. Now I wear it with pride.
Right.
Here it is. So, but anyway, that's like a long-winded, really, that's a different story for a different day. But that time, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think I had a lot of that in me, even though in a way I was very shy.
Yeah.
But I was like walking that line of like halfway narcissistic, halfway shy. And over the last 10 years, it takes so long just to figure out how to like reprogram your mind. And I think, just like you've probably grown up a lot, and we'll get into some of that, obviously. It's just over time you change your perception and your mindset and everything. So, but yeah, so we did those shows. We had a couple of shows throughout that summer stretch. I remember Jason was taking a lot of vacation at the time.
Yeah,
he was over the summer, and we had Felter fill in for us.
Yeah,
he was like the other guitar player. Yeah,
yep.
The Bush Hill,
and the Moose Lodge.
Oh yeah,
I don't think it was the Franconia one.
No, it was the Lorton one.
Okay,
I'm glad you mentioned that because I recently have this. Check this out. You're gonna love this. I don't know if you have this or not.
I have some pictures from it.
Well,
and I have a flyer.
Do you have this photo?
I think I do somewhere.
Now, describe to the listeners what you're seeing here.
So, we have John, who...
It's a band photo.
It's a band photo of us in the Moose Lodge.
Yes.
No, Gary's the only one looking at the camera. No, Gary and Daniel. No one's smiling.
No one's smiling. I have my my black fingernails.
Yep.
And as somebody once called, I remember who said it, with my Static X haircut.
Yes, this is full Wayne Static. Rest in peace.
Never even heard the band, by the way, but somehow I'm Wayne Static.
The other thing I remember about this photo, there's a couple things. One is that underneath of this danger tape across of John Felter's body, he had written in a Sharpie, "Merry fucking Christmas" all over his body.
Oh, this is around Christmas, that's right.
Yeah, and he played the show shirtless with just the danger tape wrapped around him and "Merry fucking Christmas" wrapped on his body. Daniel has on so much eye makeup.
Oh my God.
He is straight out of Hot Topic with his arch enemy shirt, UFO pants. I feel like I'm like describing him on the runway. And here's Daniel with pigtails.
Yes.
And then Jordan looking like a emo kid, like, oh, I'm so upset, with a scarf. We all have some form of denim on, I think. And then me, I'm wearing an 18 Visions
your
vanity
typical
hoodie.
18 Visions vanity hoodie that you wore every single show.
Yep.
For a while, anyway.
Yep. I have my swoop hair that's dyed blonde that goes all the way down to my chin while the rest of my hair is above my ear. And then I have so much red and black eye makeup on to look like a Treyu singer. For listeners of this podcast, just refer to my Instagram post about this podcast, and you'll see that photo. I'm going to post that photo so everybody can see it. That's a good one. That is a good one. I'm glad I found that. I was looking through a box and I found that. And so Jason was taking a lot of vacation. Fine, whatever. John filled in. At some point, we lost Mike. Yes. Where did he go? He just said, "I'm done," or he was too busy. He joined the old Jordan's other band, I think. Remember, didn't he join the Turncoats and quit? The Turncoats. That was like the band. I remember the name now, but I don't remember the whole. It was like we got Jordan from the Turncoats. Jordan played bass in the Turncoats and sang for us. Okay. And then I think Mike joined it as their second guitarist. Right. And then he just eventually left Gears, I think. Okay. And then we got the guy from 20 Ounce Nothing. 20 Ounce Nothing. Right? Yeah. We had him for a couple shows. We had that house show at my parents' house. When Hayfield says no, Don Foster says yes. Yep. That's the flyer. But like I remember when the cops showed up to my house for having a show, we didn't have alcohol or anything. Like we were just having a show because they wouldn't let us play my school's Battle of the Bands, so we passed out directions. Now what was the whole thing? Because there was a couple of us that didn't go to school. Was that pretty much the only reason? It was like the number of students that did or number of people in the band that didn't go and. But wasn't there like a big controversy? Like, wasn't there another band that had like people that didn't go to the school? Or Run 6 Blank. If you look at the show band I later joined. Yep. If you look at the show flyer, it says that us and Run 6 Blank are playing the show at my house. Yes. They never played because they ended up, the school gave them an offer that said, you can't compete in the Battle of the Bands, but we'll let you play and be the house band for the show. So they bounced on our house show to be like, yeah, screw the school not letting us play, and the school offered them a deal, which we wouldn't have taken if they wouldn't have offered that to us because we were too heavy. Yeah, we were a little too heavy. We were like, but that's literally how Jordan sounded. Yeah. Refer back to episode 21 or 22 when I start talking about this band. You'll hear, it sounds almost identical to that. That is 100%. And nothing wrong with that. That was the music of the time. But yeah, so we had the house show at your place, and that was I think that was one of the last things we did with Jason in the band, right? Because
I remember we had, now was the, one of the last shows that I really remember was the one at the Firehouse in Stafford with Arms Bend Back and all those guys. Maybe that was before, because I think we had the 20 Ounce Nothing guy there, I
think so too.
Okay. Well, we got Daniel in. Now, how did you get Daniel in? That was all your deal. I know you know him, but tell the people how you got him in and all that stuff.
All right, Daniel just has been my friend since, I guess he was 7, I was 8. We live in the same neighborhood our whole life.
Like literally across the street.
Yeah. I mean, he's like my little brother.
Yeah.
And I started playing bass, and he was like, I'm going to play drums, because they kind of go hand in hand. And then he got really good at it. And so I said, hey, why don't you come play with us, dude? Like,
so do you guys like jam before, or like, because I guess what I'm wondering is, since you guys know each other, why wasn't he like under consideration from like the very beginning? Was he still kind of crafting a skill, or?
Yeah.
So, okay.
And he was into, I think, a different style of music.
He was into like black metal or something.
He was
like
into
heavy,
like progressive, like Dream
progressive.
Theater,
Yeah.
Like,
that's right.
So I can't remember. I don't know. Yeah, he was into like Arch Enemy and stuff like that at first, like. And then I think he got into the prog. But eventually, like from right off the bat, it was just like Mike was my band friend.
Sure. But I remember when Daniel came in, it was kind of rough around the edges at first, but like within like 4 or 5 months, and that's about almost all it lasted from there, like he really like got in the groove, man. Like I was, I always had my antenna up about like everything just in general. And I was just like, oh my God, man, this guy is, and for his age too, because he was just blaring away, man. I was so surprised at how good he really was. So
and
props to him.
He constantly gets better and better. Like he's
still playing, obviously. Well, I know he doesn't live here anymore, right? He's moved to Florida or something.
Yeah. He works for Disney, actually.
Nice. Yes. Yo, what's up with them tickets? No,
you know.
Go to the Gears reunion.
Yeah, there you go. We're gonna play the Epcot ball.
There you go. I like it. When I hit my goal, I'm going to Disneyland.
There you go.
Disney World. Wait, whoops, my bad. So this is where it gets a little bit kind of the water's murky a little bit, because as I remember it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason says I want to go. I think I was like, I'm with you. I'm going. Somewhere in there, I flip-flopped, and I'm like, wait, no, I don't want to go. Because selfishly, I'm like, well, if he goes, then I will have more influence over the writing, or so I thought, which I was not ready for the record. And it's easy now with the benefit of hindsight in 2020 and context and all that, because at this time, as I said, it's very narcissistic in a way. And, excuse me, it was very much a thought of, well, gee, when he clears out of the way, that's going to open up the floor for me.
Yeah.
Which is not what happened, by the way.
Right.
But that's what I thought. And I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to stick around. And which he was like, all right, he didn't seem like he was bothered about it at first. But I think it's when we sat down, and I know you were very upset. I think you were probably the one who took it the absolute hardest.
Oh, yeah.
We're sitting down at Olympians, this restaurant in town, and he kind of laid it out. Here's the deal. And we were just trying to figure out kind of what we were going to do from there, because I think he was like the band member that drove, obviously. So like that was a big hit. We're like, okay, how are we going to get to shows now? But you were either about to have your license, or it was like right around the corner, because from that point you had that like beat up Camry, I remember. And
Jordan had that beat up station wagon,
the silver bullet.
The silver bullet.
I remember that. So between the two of you, we could get to where we needed to go to. But I think there was a point where like he called me back. He's like, I had a change of heart. I want to come back, because then he came in and like sat in on a practice or something.
Yeah,
and I was like, no.
Yeah,
you were kind of like okay with it, though, right?
I was like, okay, because he like came with like a new song he had written that I liked and stuff, and I was like, all right, what do you guys think? And you were the one that was like, no.
Was I the only one that was like, no?
I think you were the first one, and you kind of presented the argument of why no. Yeah, and we were like, Jordan and I looked at each other, and we were like, no.
Wow, that's huge.
Because to us, it was such a huge deal that, like, from what I remember of the moment when you guys decided you were going to leave and you went to Olympians, I think it was in the actual moment that he told us that you guys were leaving that you changed your mind. Like
so the change came when we were sitting there.
I think it was that same day that, that you said, I'm going to stay. And I always remember, like, I was so upset. I was crying about it because I felt like he kind of did it like an asshole in a way. Like, he was, like, kind of, like, laughing because I kept being like, you're not serious, dude. Like, this has to be a joke. Like, where's this coming from? We're all playing music.
Now, why did he want to leave? Do you remember? Because I don't remember why he wanted to go.
I don't really either. Did he want to move? Or
maybe moving, or maybe was he already married, or was he still dating Kate at the time? I think they were just dating.
I think they were just dating.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it was escalating or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think part of it was we wanted to play a lot more shows. He didn't.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it was.
Commit to like once a week shows or something like that.
So somewhere in there, he wants to come back. I say no, then you guys say no, and then that's one of those ones where I think back. Like, I always tell people in life, like, there's almost nothing that I regret. Like, even the bad shit, because I'm like, okay, well, I messed up this, I messed up that, but if I didn't mess it up, I'll never learn from it.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of things where I'm like, nah, I would never take anything back or whatever, except for this one. This is the one time where I'm like, okay, stupid, narcissistic, asshole Gary, selfish Gary, you need to go back in the DeLorean and change that one. That might be the one you want to change, because I lost a friend over that.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't talk from, had it been over a year, and then I moved out of my house later, or early 2014, just before I left the band. And I think the next time I talked to him was sometime in that year after I moved. He was going to help me and my cousin do a website because we were doing the booking thing. We were booking shows.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a whole story. We'll get into that. But yeah, what was it? So I met him there, and then there was one time I ran into him and my cousin Larry at Best Buy. And it was kind of like, they kind of had that look, and they're like, oh, shit, here he comes.
Oh, it was him and Larry, and you ran into them together?
Yes, and they had that look, like, you know that look where, like, you have somebody that maybe annoys you, and you're like, oh, shit, here he comes. And I always had a lot of anxiety and fear about being that person. I felt like a lot in life I was that person to so many people, like, oh, God, here he comes. I'm sure it's probably still... There are still probably some people in my life that feel that way, but that when I remember that moment in particular, because they were almost like begrudgingly talking to me, like, "Oh yeah, man, what's going on? Yeah, how you doing?" You know. And so then fast forward to last year, Larry and I are walking around Toys R Us in Kingstown, and around the corner is Jason Agatone. Walks right around the corner, and there he is.
Buying some content for his YouTube channel.
Probably. And he is just like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And this is mind-blowing to me, because for years following the fallout, I was trying to get in contact with him, and in the wrong way, I would say, because it would always be like, please talk to me, but then it'd be like a shot, like, you know, like, oh God, like I was quoting like Taking Back Sunday lyrics in like a Dead Journal in 2004 or something, like, there's no I in team.
Oh my God.
All this like cringe-worthy stuff, which I'm not afraid to admit now. Like, that should almost be a segment on one of my podcasts, like reading my old Dead Journal entries.
That would be hilarious. Best friends means.
Best friends means I've got a $20 bill. Yeah. And that was because he and I used to sing that album from front to back when we drive up to like Philly and all these other places.
Skate and surf festival.
Skate and surf and all this stuff. God damn, I'm really coffee today. And then there was like another time where like I found out he got married, and like I wrote this really like just shitty letter, like, you wouldn't even know her if it wasn't for me. Like, how dare you not invite me? Which is really a shitty thing to write. Like, I give him credit on that for not writing back to me. Like, that is a shitty thing to write to somebody. But at that time, I was just like, I was young and I didn't give a damn about nothing.
Right.
And so I wrote that thing. And so when I saw him in 2017, I finally got a chance to his face to apologize. And I admitted the things like we said earlier. Like, yeah, you know, I admitted that I thought it was going to be my entryway to writing for the band. Yeah. And it was a stupid move, and that's the one take back, and all these things that I always wanted to say for like 10 years. I finally got to say to his face. We shook hands.
And how did he react? Was he just like, it's cool, man, don't worry?
Yeah, very much. And he was like, matter of fact, dude, let's connect on Facebook. I'll find you, you know, and I'll hit you up and I'll add you guys.
And has this happened?
Nope. Nope.
So wait, how long in between the last time you'd seen him and the Toys R Us in 2017? 11, 12 years?
Yeah, easily.
Ooh.
11, 12 years. We finally see each other, and we were very cordial. We talked for probably 45 minutes. We stood there and talked, and Larry was kind of like, man, fuck this guy. Like, he was just kind of like hanging back.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for Larry there, but he was just kind of hanging back. He's very reserved. Me, a lot of times I wear my heart on my sleeve, and like something like that I gave so much time and energy into thinking about. I mean, I was even writing him messages as late as 2009, like trying to apologize, like when I finally wanted to correct course, and he wasn't having any of it. And so anyway, we ran into him. He said, let's reconnect, and he never reconnected because he said, I'll hit you up. And I'm like, okay, great. Because again, that whole thing of, I don't want to be the burden to other people, so like I'm not going to hit him up because I don't want to annoy him. He said, I'll hit you up. So I'm like, great, he's going to hit me up, and then he never hit me up.
So you just walked away like seeing another 12 jackass?
Pretty much.
That's fucked up.
The funny thing, though, was that I found him on Twitter one time, I remember, and like he was into all these things that I was into. Like he was into the wrestling and MMA and all this stuff. I'm like, holy God, we have more in common now than we ever had before, and like we're not talking. Like, it literally tore me up. Now I'm just kind of like, fuck it. I'm good with it. Like it's no big deal now. It's all water under the bridge. In fact, what a lot of people don't know is you were the only guy out of all my band people that ever was at my wedding.
Yeah.
Period.
That's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that, but I mean, to continue kind of the chronological kind of thing, we were playing in the band. We played these really fun basement shows. Some kid's basement.
Bruce's basement.
Yeah, Bruce's basement.
In Woodbridge.
Yeah, what was that? Montclair, to be more specific,
Yes,
I think.
yeah,
It was like right there by a lake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I passed by there, I want to say like a month ago, and I was like, oh, Montclair, I remember that place. I remember like I was coming down that road, like where you get off 95 and you hang that right.
Yeah.
I was coming down, what is that, like 234 or I don't know, whatever. People are listening like, who cares? I was going down there and I saw the big Montclair like on the wooden thing.
I know.
I was like, oh, wow, man,
like,
Bruce's
shit.
basement. Yeah, dude. So we played a couple shows there, and that was fun. And then this gets us to May.
Actually, just to go back a little.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of those bands that we played with there, one of them was Carol. They've actually, a couple of them, I think one or two of the members have gone on to join a band that's Baltimore-based called Trapped Under Ice.
Yeah.
They're a really good, I guess, like hardcore band. But I mean, they're signed, like they tour.
And I've heard Trapped Under Ice.
Yeah, they've done Warped Tour and all that.
Was
they're
Carol
really
the
good
band that had like all those like gang members that like showed up or whatever?
Yeah, they just would say they're PGHC.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's funny.
No, I don't mean to say gang in the negative connotation, but
right.
like they all showed up with like the same like T-shirt or jacket or patch or like they all had like the same thing, like they were part of some crew or something. I remember that. That's cool, man. That's a cool story. So they ended up being trapped under ice, or a couple of the guys did.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so fast forward to May. You were gonna
fast forward to May. So, the Indus Indian Cafe.
Oh my God!
You remember this place?
Oh, yes, I do.
This was weird because my cousin and I were taking our hand at booking. We're like, let's book shows. There's all these bands I like. They never come around here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to book them. I'm going to book all these national talents. And I'm not going to stack it with local, which is the smart thing to do. I'm just going to invite all these touring bands in, and nobody's going to show up, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I really sucked as a booker.
Did you?
Yes. I remember seeing like what Mikey Rafiki was doing. I'm like, I can do that.
Oh my God.
I can do that.
About that guy.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
I was like, man, I could do that, and it never happened. But we booked I think 4 or 5 shows.
Yeah.
2 or 3 at the Indus Indian Cafe, and then one at the Sub Express, that like fake Subway place.
Was that in the same
shopping center?
God.
Those guys were like connected somehow.
Nothing in that shopping center, even to this day, stays the same, except Olympians.
China Garden, and CVS.
Yeah, and now Red Hot and Blue is Mission Barbecue, which is awesome. You don't like it?
No.
I like it better than Red Hot and Blue.
The meat was just too dry for me. Maybe I got them on a bad day.
Well, that's why you got to sauce it. I agree.
You're more of a food connoisseur, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably trust your opinion. I think it was just a bad day for me, probably. But we played in what is now there's like a bagel or a taco place there now.
Taco,
I think.
yeah.
Taco. Have you ate there?
Pica Taco.
Are they any good?
Doesn't look good to me.
All right, I'll stay out of there. There's also a sub place too in there, but I don't know.
And that I want to try. King
Okay,
Subs.
I've read reviews. I always like to read the Yelp reviews.
So I guess when you were booking these shows, you had to. A big part of this I remember was you were renting the PA system.
Yes, I was. And so I think it was like $200 or $300 to rent that for a night,
Yeah.
which is very expensive. So I put our band on the very first show with Days Like These. I remember Angel, the lead singer of Days Like These, pulling up, and the look on his face when he's like, what the fuck is this place? Because for those of you guys that can't picture this in your mind, or try to at least, think of any shopping center you've ever seen. It's like a single slot. It's like this thin type of store. It almost looks like a shoebox.
Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
in a
fair.
strip mall.
In a strip mall, it's the shape of a shoebox. And this band that's been touring the country walks up, and I think we booked them for like $125, which was, pretty fair, a fair fee to pay for a band like that I really liked at the time.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see them live, and they never came around. So I'm like, $125, done, boom.
Yeah.
And I put our band on the bill, and I remember that the position of our band on that bill caused quite the stir. Now, I must ask you now that we have, 14 years now later.
Yeah.
Do you kind of understand now the thought of the local band goes on last because they brought in the people and the people will stay for them, or so you think? Because I think at the time, you're like, nobody's going to stay. You were in tears. You were pissed, but you were also in tears, I remember.
Because I think to me, it was just the whole idea of this is our show we're putting, or our guys putting on. I want that recognition of, or wait, you wanted us to headline.
Yes.
Then I don't remember what the fuck my problem was.
Well, it was because headlining played last. We didn't want to put Days Like These on last because we didn't want people leaving before they played.
But were many people there for them? I feel like a lot of people were there for us. And
they
wasn't
were
that why
at
you
the
wanted
end.
us to headline?
Yeah.
Then I don't know what the fuck my panties were in a bunch.
You were mad, and somewhere you and Jordan got in your mind let's just destroy this place. I think that was one of the quotes you used.
Not me. I didn't destroy this stuff. That was Jordan just unsolicited, got on what is the equivalent to a bar top or some kind of counter at this Indian cafe.
Yeah.
And he all of a sudden does a barrel roll, puts his back fully on the PA speaker from the curtain or from the countertop and rolls down to land on his feet on the ground. But the PA system, the speaker, came crashing down.
Yes, I think a microphone or two got destroyed in the process.
I didn't destroy the stuff.
I'm not saying you did.
Crazy at the show, but
yeah, I'm not saying you actually destroyed it, but I want to say you in your mind at least at one point was like, fuck this place, let's fucking rip it to shreds or something like that.
I did want people to mosh.
Yeah, that was your big thing.
Yeah,
but somewhere in there. And I don't remember what my thought was behind leaving, other than I think I was mad about the PA because we had to pay a lot of money for that.
And I could see that. Fuck these little disrespectful pieces of shit. Now it's my money.
Well, it's actually my cousin's money. That's the whole
go.
thing.
All right.
This poor guy, and I don't know if he probably doesn't listen to these, but Jimmy, if you're ever listening, I'm sorry, man. I remember. Oh my God. Okay, so this is a whole other side story. This is the problem when you bring a friend on here, because when I talk to new friends on Instagram that I've never met, we can have an hour conversation, whatever. But when you get a friend on here, you get all these anecdotes, and then you want to go on all these side stories and everything. I remember Jimmy and I had a falling out, and I love the guy to death. We're cool now. There's absolutely no heat, no problem now. But there was a time where I was living with him. That was the time where I left the band. I was living with him, and I was going through a big time in my life too, because I was I moved in with him. I had no money. I had to sell my half stack, and I made $100 off of it, which pissed me off because then a month later, Run 6 Blank came calling, hey, we need a guitar player, and I could never afford an amp again, ever.
Yeah.
And Jimmy and I had a falling out because I think the girl that he was dating, who's now his wife, at the time, for whatever reason, we just didn't click, and obviously he's in love with this girl, so he's more leaning towards her, and I'm just kind of immature, stirring the pot. And eventually it led to me having to leave the house or whatever. And then I remember I wrote some MySpace bulletin, not bulletin, what is it, a note or something about things I regret or things of this, stuff, reflecting on something.
Yeah.
It was a compilation of things. And I'm running a booking business with your family, I would never do that, man. I really got to roll into that deal. And he had been off MySpace for months, and he comes on there with, I think, a new account because he was going to look to find me or whatever. And he's like, now, wait a minute, motherfucker. You still owe me over $1,000. He grilled into me
God.
huge. And young me is my God, because I knew he could kick my ass. He's got muscles. This guy was in the Army. Like, he's a tough guy. And I thought he was going to, like, come beat my ass. We eventually are cool. Everything is cool. But at the time, like, just for me writing that really crappy thing on MySpace, like, he was pissed.
Do you guys talk still? I mean, was he at your wedding?
No, he lives in Florida now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just a travel thing because he had another kid, and, you know, so they're kind of taking care of him now. And he just doesn't really get to travel a lot anymore. But no, I mean, we're cool. We don't really talk as much, but that's partially on me because I'm a terrible communicator. I had one of my cousins on here, Nick, who I also haven't talked to very much. And I'm very open about it. I'm a terrible communicator. I think I inherited that from my father, who is the shittiest of the communicators, which that was a whole podcast that whenever I ask people, have you heard my podcast? Like, oh, I heard the one about your dad. Like, everybody heard that podcast.
The one?
That's the one everybody tells me they've heard. And so if you're new to this, that's probably one you want to check out because that one was really deep. But
I listened to that one too.
You heard that one? Yeah, that was a deep one. But anyway, I don't even know where the hell we were going. Jimmy or whatever, some kind of tangent. But I was living with him, and I was very young, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, I was just online trying to meet up with girls and go out and have a good time and whatever. And, you know, running rambunctious, blowing the little bit of money I had. I think I made like $200 a week from CVS. And I was just living a reckless lifestyle. I was never into drugs or anything like that, as you would know. But I was living a very reckless lifestyle. So at some point, I was just mad about that thing. And I was like, I'm leaving the band. And I think you maybe, I don't remember your exact reaction, but I feel like it wasn't necessarily as I don't think you took it nearly as bad as I thought you were going to take it. Weren't you kind of like over it at that point too?
Because I think it was like we had a show the next day, or we had like two shows in a row.
Oh, wow.
And to me, I was like, fuck, better learn the guitar now. Like,
because well, when Jason left, you became the guitar player. So we had Jake in there.
That's right. That's right. But
but you were still figuring out your craft.
Yeah, like I didn't know your guitar parts.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. And I had to learn like the little like clean strumming of like your head in my hands and like that stuff. And
I don't even remember these names. You're blowing my mind.
I remember the names and like I can't play them anymore.
No.
But yeah, I mean I think like cuz I was pushing towards a heavier direction and you didn't want to go any heavier than we were, I don't think. So.
Yeah, there was like there'll be the one like Run 6 or Ghost in the Gears fan that's going to be like, "Dude, I'll pay you $1 million to reunite." It's like, "Fuck, we don't remember anything." Yeah. Like we're screwed. You know who hit me up about Ghost in the Gears one time? This was a couple of years ago. I was at what was it? Was it called Mayhem Festival?
Yeah,
I was hanging out with Andrew Goldstein. Remember him from Friday Night Boys and Aberdeen and all this?
In Bet on Black.
Bet on Black, yeah. Well, of course you know him from that because that was a heavier band.
Right.
Naturally.
But I knew Friday Night Boys. I saw them on TRL and all
that. And he was like, dude, you were in that band Ghost in the Gears. I remember that. I'm like, what the fuck? You remember that? Of all the things, you remember that? Like,
isn't he like big time producing for like all these pop stars?
He's worked with like Timberlake and Hot Shell Ray and all these people.
Good on him. He's always a nice guy.
He's a good one to follow on the Instagram at Andrew Goldstein. Good guy to follow. But he had asked me about the band. That blew my mind because I'm like, wow, this Ghost in the Gears thing, like people remember this.
Yeah.
And I kind of underestimated it, but I think a lot of that was built up after I left because I think the band grew significantly popular after I departed from the band. Is it accurate? Because you guys were playing a lot more shows at that point.
Yeah, but it was a whole revamp. We kept the name, but it was a revamp. Like, we basically took, I guess we tried to play just me, Jordan, Daniel, and Jake.
Yeah.
And actually, Jake sadly, tragically passed away last month.
What?
Yes. I don't know how.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, he always was the type to, like, joke about, like, well, maybe I'll just kill myself and, like,
no kidding.
And I don't know. So I don't know if it was suicide or what. I know.
When's the last time you talked to Jake?
Long time. But
been years.
Yeah, but Daniel Goldwater, our drummer Daniel, he has been dealing with seizures.
Okay.
And he's
had that for a long time.
Yeah, but now Daniel's like pretty good. But he saw Jake post about having seizures, and he said that he reached out to Jake about it. This was a month before he passed, and he said that Jake just was like, "Oh, thanks." Like, just didn't want any part of it.
Well, he was kind of always, and I don't want to, say anything bad about somebody like that's past, but he was always kind of like blase blah about people. Like he was kind of like, fuck this.
I
guy.
totally dogged the shit out of him last time I was on your podcast.
Did you really?
Yeah. If you go back and listen, I talk about like the fucked up shit.
Was that the first one or the second one?
I don't remember.
I'll have to go back and hear that.
All right, but so anyway,
we don't do that here. This is supposed to be a positive podcast.
No,
but no, I mean, I think in general, that was just his personality. He was just very kind of like, unless he like really liked you, and I don't know that he liked many people, but like he was just very much like whatever.
Yeah. So right? I mean, there was a period where he moved, you had left, so it was just me, Jordan, and Daniel, and like. We wanted to play heavier. I wasn't the best guitar player or anything. I could do the dun-dun-wee music. But...
Oh, my God. Can we talk about for a second, like, you trying to train me on this?
No, Gary, it's dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, not dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yes. And I'm like, oh, my God. I used to get so frustrated with you. I just want to, like, play, like... I just want to play, like, the more easier, like, stuff that people will get into, not this, like, integrate, Norma Jean, like...
That was it.
God, man, you used to frustrate the shit out of me.
I know.
But no, I mean, look, man, that was what you were into, and you took a lot of the influence in the writing. You became the main writer.
Yeah.
You were writing everything.
Yeah.
We went in the studio. There was one time, the second time we ever went into a studio, it was like the second thing we ever recorded. I remember I wanted to like go one night to join you to like listen to the mix. You're like, nah, man, it's cool. You don't have to go if you don't want to. And I'm like, no, I want to go. And like, for some reason, it seemed like, I don't know, I got this vibe almost like you guys didn't want me there. It was weird.
I don't really remember. I don't know.
Conveniently.
I don't know. I would tell you honestly.
Yeah.
I never remembered feeling like I don't want Gary in the band. I do remember, like how you said you feel frustrated trying to learn those stupid chunk parts.
God.
Like I would feel frustrated trying to teach it.
I'm sure you did, yeah.
I mean,
because it was very much second nature to you, and you were like, it seemed like it came so easy to you.
Because you didn't really listen to that music as much, whereas I knew what I was trying to imitate. Didn't have any context.
Imitate's a good word there. I mean, were you trying to imitate, or was you trying to be something new? Because I feel like when you recrafted to the new sound, you sounded more original to me. Is that accurate? Or
I think it's always and even back when Jason wrote, I have always felt like where Ghost in the Years has been unique.
Yes.
Whereas, there's parts where I try to imitate, not steal, but imitate.
Sure.
And if you try to imitate 3 or 4 different things you like that are different genres, sometimes you can put them together and it creates something original. And that has always been my philosophy when it comes to writing. Yeah.
So you decided, let's do a revamp, and I take it everybody, were they initially on board when you wanted to change everything? Yeah. They were like, cool.
Yeah.
And then you get these 2 new guitarists.
Yeah, then Nick and Andrew.
How do you find these guys? They're just some shitheads at a party or something? They seem like a couple of shitheads at a party. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, because these people can be very cool, but like...
At a basement show, yes.
There you go.
Counts. That counts, party. House, basement show, that's a party.
Yeah. So you find them at a party.
I guess Jordan had a girlfriend that knew them. They had come to see our shows even when you were in the band. And so for a while... What we originally tried to do was I would play bass, Jordan would sing. Or no, Jordan would play bass, I would sing.
Right.
They would play guitar, Daniel would drum. Now, they're both amazing guitarists. One of them went one of them went to Duke Ellington School for the Arts in D.C.
Wow.
Which, like, a bunch of, I can't think of famous musicians, but, like, Dave Chappelle went there. Like, a lot. It's a great school. And then the other one is, like, classically trained. He was like in guitar ensemble, and like they were both into like they were both into Avenged Sevenfold, but they were also into like really heavy like European metal.
Yeah, I was about to say I didn't hear any Avenged Sevenfold in your sound.
No, it was heavier than that.
And you were like growling, like a bear.
So I was full death metal right there. So
I know you use like Foz in your name. People should be calling you like Fozzie the Bear, man. You sound like a bear.
Well, like I remember, so Jordan had never, after him surviving with me being my best friend this whole time, him and I got in a fight. We just basically had this like 6 month to a year period where we didn't talk to each other, and then it was all good. We've been good friends still ever since. But he had never actually played a show with that lineup.
Okay.
And now I don't remember if I talked about this the last time I was on or not, or we did one of these, but I got a little tape recorder tape, and I had it converted to DVD. And it's our first show with oh, that's right. So Daniel was at this. This was our first show.
Yes.
And who's in the background the whole show?
Who's that?
Gary Cantrell.
I'm there.
Rocking the fuck out the whole show. He's right there behind Daniel. He's giving the rock on. He's headbanging. He's going nuts. I see there's kids in the front that are looking at him, and they're like headbanging too.
Yeah.
And, like I'm kind of like pointing at Gary, and he's like pointing at me. Like Gary was like definitely very much a part of that show.
I have to
feel
see this.
I'll definitely bring it over for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I have it on DVD now.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Oh.
This is on YouTube.
Perfect.
If you type in Ghosts in the Gears,
yeah.
I mean, you'll find it's cut up into 10 2-minute clips though, so it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But
I want to say that even though I left the band, there was a period where we didn't talk, obviously, but I feel like because I was still living at Jimmy's house and we had reconnected because I remember they like thought you was like smoking pot in my bedroom, which I would never allow. But you probably had some on you or something.
Yeah,
you probably smelled it on you. But so I feel like we were still connected for some of this period of time. Like we were still talking, and for whatever reason, like we've always been able to connect. I mean, drift apart a little bit for a while, and just kind of come back in.
Yeah.
Man, I just feel like. I feel like there was that show I came to. There was a show at East Coast. No, not East Coast. It was across the street from East Coast. It was this other place that I came.
It used to be the Spotlight.
Yes, that's exactly the place. I don't know what they named it after that.
It was like Frank's or something. I don't remember.
Something. But didn't you like have me like put on a guitar at that show or something? I want to say like you try to put a guitar on me on that show.
I feel like we may have played Drift Red or
Probably,
something like that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. That was like interesting because I don't think I remember any of it.
Because they were right, but they were so good at guitar. Like I played them like Drift Red once, and they were like, "Oh, like this," and like they would like just one full listen. They knew the whole song by heart. So,
yeah,
like,
but by the time you guys played that first show together, all that stuff was gone, right? I mean,
yeah, but I remember one time I feel like we made an exception and played. I think that might have been when I tried to get you to come up to play.
Okay, and so. You had written like all these songs. Did you guys ever record that stuff or?
Yes. So first we recorded 3 or 4 song, 5-song EP. It's called the Crying Wolf EP.
Right.
And actually during that time while recording it, and now they're writing all the music, I'm writing all the lyrics. I'm very much talking about like being a narcissistic frontman. I created a character that I called the King of Gears, like OV, because it's like very Norwegian. And I became him when I was writing music, when I was in the studio, when I was on stage. Like I just became the King of Gears, and Brian ceased to exist. But speaking of that, Brian almost ceased to exist during this time because I had a very rare tumor in my stomach.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we were recording these 4 or 5 songs, and then carrying equipment down into this guy's house to record. Like I'd be like, I need to sit down. Like I don't feel well. And then like trying to record the album, like my screaming, like I wasn't able to scream as powerful. I wasn't able to scream as long. I was running out of breath. Like I even passed out at one point while recording this. And there's half of the album is recorded when I had the tumor and half is without. And it's night and day difference.
Really?
So I had to go and...
What was the tumor from?
I don't really know. I was anemic, so my blood count was really low.
Right.
I think it might have been from abusing like robo pills and stuff.
Right.
Like
I mean,
that
you
to
experimented
trip.
with stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
like,
not,
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe that could affect it. The doctors told me no, but it was a very rare tumor at the time. It's called a gastrointestinal stromal tumor. It's a GIST.
Right.
And so this was right after I just graduated high school. August after graduating high school. I remember this is like the same time as Hurricane Katrina is happening.
Oh, yeah.
And,
now, shoot me straight. How much of that stuff were you experimenting while we were in the band together? Because I feel like sometimes you were there, maybe sometimes you weren't there.
I wouldn't. If I was gonna do that, I was experimenting with it, yes, but not like I wouldn't like do it and then say like, all right, let's have band practice.
Right.
I would be high on marijuana.
Sure.
But yeah, I wouldn't do like.
Because I remember there were like times where we like, there was like a couple Thanksgivings. I remember where you came over, like we hung out or whatever, me, you, and Jordan, and it was just like I don't know, was I actually drinking at this point, or this before I started drinking? Maybe it had to be after.
Were.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know that I would have you assholes in my house and like, drinking everything, and I was drinking nothing.
Right.
But yeah, my mom never listens to this podcast, but there used to be a time where they would go away for Thanksgiving and I have a few people over. No, we never broke anything. No, we never had people in other people's rooms or nothing. We were always in the basement watching like Steve-O videos or whatever.
Yeah, Metallica
documentaries.
Just kidding.
So, we'd hang out and, I sometimes I would wonder like, okay, is this guy with it or not?
Yeah.
And Jordan's another character. He's not here. He can't speak for himself, but I'm sure he was probably in a similar boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I always kind of like had like, in those first like 2 or 3 years we connected, I always kind of like I liked you. I liked hanging around with you, but I was always like never entirely sure about you. Where on the flip side, I don't know what you felt like about me because obviously I was this older guy and I always felt like people like they would hang out with me because like maybe this guy will buy me beer or buy me cigarettes or whatever. Like I always felt like that was like what people had me around for.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, and be honest. I mean, be totally honest. Was I just this like older guy that could get you shit, or was like you really thought like, okay, this guy's all right? Because there was a time where I felt like we really didn't have a ton in common.
Right.
I think that's very fair to say. You like this music, I like this music, and other than band practice and a couple of random hangouts at my house, we really didn't hang out a whole lot because there is the age gap. I mean, what was kind of like your thoughts of me at that time?
I looked at you as my friend. I mean, I really genuinely like you.
I'm glad to know it now. I was kind of like always like on the one, like the corner of my eye, like, is this guy?
I mean, even if we were going like, doing our own thing, we always have had like that kind of ground that we can come back to.
Yeah.
Where you like, things like Metallica or whatever, like, that's something that you're always going to love Metallica.
Of course. Yeah. You're just never going to not love Metallica.
Yeah. Or like those times of like, like we're doing now, talking about those good old days and all that.
Exactly, man. This is a good old, so would you believe an hour's already gone by?
Wow.
Yeah. And that blows your mind. Like, I love that thing with the podcast. I'll be talking to somebody and like casually, hey, did you know an hour going by? Wait, what?
No.
People, they never know. I get
idea.
them so comfortable.
Exactly.
And we just go. So when did Gears finally like wrap up and be done and all that stuff?
So eventually with Nick and Andrew joined and we recorded that EP, we then said, well, you know what? We want to go even heavier this time. And that's when Daniel left, and we got Naveed, who now he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's the drum tech on tour for this band called Suicide Silence. That's a really popular band.
I've heard that name, yeah.
He actually has drum teched for, I think, Bury Your Dead, and actually played drums for them at, like, I think it's just a guest thing.
Right.
He's been in a bunch of bands, and so before he did all that, he was the Ghost in the Gears drummer, and that's where he I take credit that that's where he learned how to play this, like, we're talking like black death metal. This is super fast, and it's not just like random like BS that everyone thinks, like just hitting random drums. It's actually very much similar to almost like a sped up jazz in a way. And when you just speed it up so much, it sounds chaotic, and it does just sound like the drummer just going like right. But that's really hard to do.
It's organized chaos.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. And I was like in my zone as, like I said, like being the king of gears and creating
King OV.
Yeah. And I would try to create a concept album.
Yeah.
Like I made all the songs kind of relate in one way, and then we wrote the song so that we could actually play all 5 songs without stopping if we wanted to.
Sure.
Like each song would flow into the next note of the next song. So like we had a really cool idea going on.
Yeah.
But in our last show, we played with Napalm Death. We've played with like Arsis, and then our last show, we got to play one band. It goes us, one other band, and then Behemoth, who's like one of my favorite bands. They're from Norway. They wear like all this like corpse paint. Yeah. They're really, really good band, and like their singer Nergal is like a really big figure in the heavier metal community.
Okay.
And I actually saw him, and like I got to talk to him a little bit before the show. It was great. And then I feel like we went out on a high note. I mean, we played at Empire at Jack's in front of sold out show there.
Wow.
It was amazing.
It's a hell of a way to go out.
And we didn't know it was going to be our last show.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, because after that it was just like the guitarist was like, I got into VCU I'm leaving next month. And so for the rest of the summer, I tried to convince them to keep the band going. And then it was like the other guitarist was like, fuck it, I'm going to move to Richmond too, even though I'm not getting into college.
Yeah.
So that was the end. That was the last time we saw Ghost in the Gears.
I get what you mean about ending on the high note, though. Like, my last show I ever played with Starlit Eyes was at one of those Nova All-Star Fests, and there was like 800 people there.
Oh, those were rocking.
Yeah, and people at that time, like, they knew the words to the songs, which it still always gets to me. I'm like, man, people actually remembered the words to these songs. That always blew me away. I never took it for granted, even though I was kind of in a dark place at the time. But I do remember, like, going out on that high note. That was my last show with the band, and all these people singing back the words to the band just, like, blew me away. And I was like, wow, what a way to... So, in a way, we had similar exits to music where we went out on a high note.
And we went out as frontmen.
Went out as frontmen. That's pretty cool.
That is the best feeling, though, when someone is, like, screaming the words of your song back at you. It's amazing. That
always blew me away. And that with that band, that was one of the things. It started with Run Six Blank because everybody knew that was like a legendary band in the area. And then when Starlit Eyes, people were starting to learn that stuff, and they would just memorize the words, and it just blew me away.
The thing that I would do at our shows when we became heavier, and Jax would always ask me not to do this, but I had a battle mace that had 2 spiked balls on chains on it. All right, and this was like, it looked like it was straight out of medieval times, like wrapped with like string, and it was like an old wood. And I would just like have it like tucked into my pants, in my shirt under, and like I'd randomly just pull it out and start like swinging it and make the crowd start chanting at me like, hey. And like the whole Jax is like, doing it back to me, and
did you finally have a point, like when you guys ended, did you finally have like a group of fans that like knew like the words and like so when you talk about becoming King OV, like you had, I don't know, whatever the number is, let's just call it 50, 100, whatever, that would come to your show, they knew every word, they were into everything. You had that.
I would say like 25 to 50.
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
But yeah.
People say, I hate when people say that, like, they do a podcast, like, oh, only 25 people listen to that. Fuck you. Like, that's 25 people that are showing up. Like, put 25 people in your living room.
And imagine what that looks
and
like.
And do your spiel and watch how that blows you away. Because I'll tell you what, I could have 10 people in this room right now and I'd be thankful.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blows me away. And so from there, I mean, and to kind of wrap the bow with the music part of this thing, it's like, do you ever miss it? Do you ever want to go back to that day?
Absolutely.
Because I've tried, like Larry and I, we've jammed, like we did something. Right. And it was fine, but it's just like, I don't know, man. Like I try to pick up the stuff, and I just don't know if it's just because I don't play every day anymore or every other day, but like I pick it up and I'm just like, man, as much as fun as this would be to do, I just don't know if it's meant to be. Like,
I don't know if there's a scene for it anymore. I think
that's a whole other thing.
I think we just were around in a special time.
I think we were, because I'll give you an example. So I don't know if you remember this band. They were around in 07, 08, Pictures and Pieces.
Yeah.
So Stephen Lucas, he was a guy in that band. He's still doing a band called Vice Years. And they're really good, man. I had them on the podcast last summer. We had a great time. They're actually playing Celebrate Fairfax this year. I saw them last year. They're doing it this year. I mean, they're really good. I mean, these guys, all talented musicians. But when I go to their shows, like, they have people that show up for them, and it's great. But when I look at, like, kind of just the crowd, the makeup of the crowd, like, there's no particular scene anymore, which is probably maybe for the better, because I hated, like, scene people in general. Those people just kind of piss me off. They're very judgmental. I always tell the joke, like, the last 2 or 3 Starlit Eye shows, I wore wrestling shirts because I knew little scene kids would get pissed. Like, wrestling, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So I would do it just to piss them off. But,
I like that.
Yeah. Wear, like, Stone Cold and DX and all this stuff. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But, like, they have people that show up for them, which is great. But it's like, there's no, like, it's not like the old days, like at an Apex booking show, Mikey, Rafiki or whatever. Like, these kind of shows, they don't exist anymore.
No.
There's no existence for them. And I don't know where they went or what happened, but it's like you're saying, I think we were part of a special time. So it's like, now if you said, okay, I want to do something, like, let's just say, hypothetically, you're like, fuck yeah, let's do whatever.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
How do you go about it?
I mean, yeah, you could go on Instagram and SoundCloud and build a digital following, which is great. You could sell some downloads. You could stream on all these platforms, which is what I'm really fascinated by, which is what I was learning with my cousin. You can stream on all these platforms, but like shows and all that stuff, it really doesn't exist.
I see the only place I've been seeing it lately for that kind of genre lately, it has been California. Like people that just go to Hollywood and they like essentially assemble an all-star lineup of a band, and like they get signed before they ever put any music out, you know what I mean? And then that's the way it happens now.
I'll tell you what though, I was at a Census Fail show back in March, and you put a band like that out there and all these people come out of the woodwork. I mean, I went to that show and people knew every goddamn word, every song. They were just singing it right back to Buddy.
Are they still making music? Like new
music? They just put out a new record.
So how much do you think of a band like that, the crowd is nostalgic, and how much is like, oh, I'm here because I love their new record?
I think it's probably like 70-30, 60-40.
Because
in favor of the old stuff?
Because you can be in both of those categories too.
You can. I mean, for instance, you know me, I'm kind of this like OCD nerd in the sense of I remember all these like intricate details of things. Yeah. So when I show up to that show with a t-shirt that I bought at Skate and Surf in 03 and I show it to Buddy like, hey dude, check out this shirt. He's like, what the fuck? Like, he was like blown away. Like, you have this? I'm like, yes. Like, I remember because this was a moment in time. You know, Skate and Surf, Asbury Park, like you guys were just starting to really get your footing. You just signed a drive-thru. Like, I'm presenting all this to him. And he's like, yeah, I see, yeah. And he was like blown away that I still had this shirt. I'm like, dude, I will remember that show forever because you jumped on me and Jason. You know, like he stage dove, and I guess him and Jason were AIMing back in the day.
I was AIMing with Buddy for a long time. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, dude. I didn't know that.
He's a nice guy. I mean, I was into them. I was into that music then.
See, that's the thing though, man. I always, and maybe this is why we had some issues for a while, because I guess in my mind, and I guess in the music you were writing, I felt like you were always on this heavier level. And so all the stuff that I liked, I felt like if I brought it to you, you probably were going to shit on it because I always thought you were like the heavier guy.
I had like just made the switch to the heavier stuff because of Jordan. Like, so I had this friend, Megan, that she got me into all the drive-through stuff. She was actually at Surf and Skate.
Yeah, she was there, yeah.
And, like, she just got me into all that. And then Jordan got me into, like, the Ferret Records and all that, like hardcore bands and stuff like that.
And then Jacob, he was like into like this like weird kind of like subgenre.
Yeah, he was like emo,
but like math hardcore, like weird stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that was the thing. Like, I wish I knew more, and I knew you kind of like that stuff, but like, I don't know. I think there was like one or two times where I'm like, man, check out these guys. Like, that's gay. I'm not lying to you. I'm not even just trying to say that to be funny. I feel like there was like one or two times I brought it, like, that sucks.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
But anyway, so that was kind of the bow on the music thing. And I feel like for a couple of years there, we probably just like loosely talked on probably Facebook or whatever. But I don't think it was like really until 2013 where I had like my radio show that was like kind of in this thing where we started to reconnect, because I was somewhere in there. I don't remember how it started, and I'd probably have to find the Facebook Messenger message where it's like, hey, I do this radio show. You should come hang out or something.
Yeah.
And you came by, and we did like 2 hours of radio. We talked about some of this stuff. I think we got a farther, deeper conversation today, which I love. This is really the direction of the podcast. Whether it's somebody I've never talked to or a friend I've had for 15 years, I'm just like, man, I like to have these deep conversations, and people that are listening can pick out little things that they like or whatever that they pick from it. So you did the radio. Now, what did you think about the radio show? Because I remember at the time, like, we were catching up, and I think when we talked like musically, we didn't really talk a lot music like before the show, but like you found out I had this radio show, and I think there was like a point in time where like you were considering doing radio or something like that. And what was kind of your thoughts on the radio show? What did you make of all that?
The shoot?
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I would, for me, it was a weekly listen. Like, you know, anytime you would do it, I would listen to it, and I wasn't even really into wrestling. That's the thing, because it wasn't just wrestling.
Yes.
When you read, this was like one of the revamps of the shoot. The original shoot was just wrestling.
It was all wrestling, yeah.
But I thought it was a great show. I thought that like you and Chris like had good ways of playing off of each other, and like could jab at each other well and stuff. But then there would be little things that come out about him like never going to a show. Like I remember like I kept, when I was on, I just couldn't get over that.
I just heard that show like last week as I was pulling clips for this documentary, and I was like, Oh my God, that's right. And we're like listing off the names of shows. Like it was like your homework assignment. Like you were bringing like this list.
I looked at his zip code and like I was like naming shows that were coming.
I love that. That was a lot of fun. But there was a time where I guess you were considering doing some kind of radio thing. Didn't you have like an internship or something like ESPN?
Yeah, I had a mentorship with this guy, Nick Ashew, who at the time was working at ESPN 980 in Rockville, which is actually was owned by Dan Snyder. I'm pretty sure he just sold it recently.
Okay.
And now Nick Ashew works at 106.7 The Fan.
Okay, all right.
But that was something that I don't know. I was in a weird like place. I was going through a bad breakup, and I don't know. I didn't take the internship thing as seriously as I should have.
I was about to say, what the fuck, man? Because people are probably listening. It's like, man, this guy has a voice for radio. This is cool.
Well, I hope. I mean, I love
what the
radio.
hell?
Like, I listen to a ton of radio and old radio. I go back a lot, and
So, in other words, you blew your shot,
yeah.
pretty much.
But I mean, I was just starting a new job at a new restaurant, and then here we are 3 years later, and I just became the manager of the restaurant. So I got a nice little promotion. So
Okay, hold that thought for a second. Let's tie the radio thing up though. So, how do you even get that internship? Like, were you trying to go to like a school of broadcasting, or you were just in like general college, or what? What was the deal?
It was something I had to apply for and pay for.
Oh, you had to pay.
I had to pay to do it.
Wow.
But they didn't.
So you paid to blow your shot.
Yeah, I really did, dude. It was.
Wow.
It was not cheap either. It was bad. But I mean, my parents paid for it, so I blew their money.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
I feel bad. Yeah, I feel really bad about it.
You better start like a podcast about restaurants now or
there
something.
We go.
And put that money back to good use. We'll get into that. But well, geez, I listen to the stuff that's on the radio nowadays. I mean, I barely listen to it, but I mean, you could have stuck out. I think in one of those shows, I was like, dude, you got to take over afternoons and be like this big time radio star.
Oh, yeah.
There's no competition on afternoons. There's nothing happening.
There's nothing happening right now.
Well, because you're a big sports guy.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what you were looking at, though, right? Just like sports stuff, pretty much?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I had gone to college for journalism, and I wanted to be my college didn't offer broadcast journalism, so really I learned how to talk about sports, how to write about them. Yeah. And that's a good skill to have. Like, you can bundle that with being able to talk on radio. And
sure.
I mean, you might be able to make a great website like what you used to do, where you would have writing content and you would have podcast content.
Yeah.
I think that's a big key.
I think so.
And if you're able to do both, I think those are great skills that complement each other.
Right. Now, and so now you're a manager of a restaurant. You, though, I feel like when you were interning even, you were still like in that restaurant world. You've been working at restaurants for the last probably 5-6+ years?
My whole life, basically.
Your whole life.
Except for where I stopped, when I started at 16, and then I worked at the Redskins store and went to college, so I stopped for 5 years maybe, so I probably have 10, 11 years.
But when you got back in, was it just like, oh, this is some bullshit job to pay the bills, or you have a genuine interest in restaurants?
I have a genuine interest in them,
okay. Because I feel like, based on stuff I may have seen on your Facebook or whatever, you're kind of a foodie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, probably, I'm saying kind of. You're probably like, no, you're kind of understating.
I mean, I don't know how people look at that word. I don't mind it. But I Instagram food a lot, yes.
Yes, you do. Instagram, where are you? Tell the people where to find you.
The Foz05.
My God, you sound like some 15-year-old AIM name or something. You need to be like Brian Cooks or something, man. What the hell's going on?
Oh, that's a good one.
Somebody
Brian
probably has
Eats.
that. Brian Eats. Brian Cooks, Brian Eats, something like that. I need to teach you a class about branding. My God, you could run a restaurant podcast. You could have talking about the ins and outs of the restaurant business. You could do YouTube and Instagram content about what to do and what not to do in the restaurant business. You could be huge. You could have a whole separate income based off of internet stuff. Bet you didn't even think about that.
No. King of restaurants?
King of restaurants. King OR.
What, I need a phrase. Good food always
wins? I don't know. Good food is always delicious.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of long-winded.
Right.
I don't know. So, no, but I'm serious. Okay, so how long have you been the manager? You said you just got this.
Yeah, I did training was January through March, so
Okay.
I finished like end of middle of March.
But when you got in, now what were you doing? You're just like a server, or what were you doing?
I was
when
a
you got in?
server and and then eventually got promoted to bartender, and then I
Okay.
eventually got this thing called shift leader, where it like kind of gives you a window into management. I was like managing 2 days a week, getting
Okay.
like an hourly rate, and then all the other days I would serve or bartend. And then January I got offered to come on as full-time management.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of food?
It's a steakhouse, steak and seafood.
Steak. I
I
like
mean-
steak. I still eat steak.
Do you?
By the way,
All
you
right.
can eat steak on a diet. It's okay,
Yeah,
folks.
that's right.
Spoiler alert.
It's good if you go to the gym and lift weights, right?
Exactly. That's
All
what I'm doing right now.
There
Hey.
you go.
Flex the muscles
don't
for the
hurt 'em.
people. Steaks, man. You might got the hook up on steaks.
I might. Yeah, it's for you, of course.
Man,
I
you'll
do.
you'll cook some steaks. We'll take them to Disney and go eat them with Daniel. There you go. We're tying it full circle.
There we go.
So you're the manager of this place. You mentioned you bartended. That's an interesting. I've always been interested in. Not that I would want to do it, but I'm always fascinated because I watch way too much Bar Rescue. Obviously, about
too.
that world. Okay, so you watch
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What's that world like? Bartending.
It's weird because the bartenders are like supposed to be the most reliable people in your restaurant. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It takes a special kind of person to be a bartender.
Okay,
I feel like.
okay.
I mean, like you definitely hear a lot more at the bar. Like, because the job I was at before this one, I was the bar manager and the head bartender. So I was
Wow.
like making all the drink menus and all that. And I really only had one or two other bartenders. I was working most of the shifts because I was making really good money and I was the bar manager. I made the schedule. So I gave myself a lot of shifts and the good ones.
And don't lie. How would John Taffer rate your bar skills? Would he be like, "Shut it down"?
You're despicable. Dump it out and do it again.
Get Phil Wills in there spinning around drinks and stuff. Yeah, I watched the show. Now, how would he rate you? What do you think? I mean, be honest.
As a bartender, I'm
Sure.
pretty good.
Okay.
I do my thing. I mean,
All right.
I make good quality drinks. That's what I care about. I don't.
So you're not busting open the books and making the call for help. In other words.
No,
Okay,
sir.
great.
No.
Okay, fair enough. And so you got in the manager. So now you oversee everything.
Well, I'm on a team of management. It's a very big restaurant.
Okay.
So I'm one of
Like a fancy restaurant? With like a 5-star restaurant?
It's like upper casual fine dining, I would say. Like you
like
can go-
Gordon Ramsay level or like white trash Gordon Ramsay level? Or what are we talking?
Kind of. It's like
Okay.
above. It's above like Outback.
Okay,
but it's
all right.
Like it's not like tablecloth.
Outback is more my speed.
I like Outback too. I saw you there
You did?
not long ago. Remember, like I don't know what, a year or two ago with my parents.
That's right, you did. My mind, like I try to remember as much as I can, and as much as I can remember 15 years ago, something that happened a year or so ago.
Maybe not.
For whatever reason, I don't know why, it just happens. That's
Yeah.
right, we did run into each other at
Yeah,
Outback. That's crazy. Where you don't have to get specific. How far away do you work? I mean, from this area.
Tyson's.
Oh, Tyson's. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
nice area.
Yeah,
of
Tyson's
rich
too,
people
the
out there.
Galleria. So nice.
Ooh, Tyson's too. I don't even walk in Tyson's too. I walk in Tyson's too. They're looking for money. I ain't got that
that's
money.
True. Yeah.
Hardworkalwayswins.com. Let me buy steaks. Come on now, people. Tyson's too.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So we have right now what's really good is Cirque du Soleil's in town over there.
Yeah.
Like literally walking distance from the mall. So right now normally is not that busy of a time for a
Yeah.
restaurant. Nobody when it's 90 degrees and sunny out wants
Sure.
to go eat a big ribeye steak in a restaurant with no windows. But the circus is making our businesses crazy
No
booming,
kidding.
which affects my bonus at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Like
Yeah,
so
hey.
I love it. I love this Cirque du Soleil being there.
I don't even feel like I'm good enough for Tyson's 1. You're talking about Tyson's 2. There's 2 Tysons in this area, folks, by the way.
Both owned or were created by the owners of the Washington Nationals, the Lerner family.
Really?
Yeah, I
I didn't know that.
Like all this, if you go out there, there's all this new residential stuff being built. That's all them.
No
You
kidding.
gotta pay Bryce Harper somehow.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus Christ. So we've run into each other over the years. I had you at my wedding. Like I said, you were the only person from my band history that was in the wedding because for a couple of reasons. It's like, first of all, we didn't want a huge wedding. We did a moose lodge, which I'm not fancy. I don't like to be fancy. So I think we had like 100 people or less, pretty much. And so with her family and my family, we're kind of tapped out. But as far as people in the wedding, she's like, who do you want to get? And I'm like, I'm thinking, and there's like the people that I talk to, the people that I don't talk to,
Yeah.
And your name was always kind of like stuck in my mind. I'm like, Brian. For some reason, it's like you said, like no matter how much the time is apart, we always seem to come back together.
Yeah.
And there's something about that because like you have like your friends that you talk to every day, and you have your friends too that you catch up every couple months or every year or so. And when you come back in, like we can come in and do a podcast and we're just caught right back up. It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
So had you at the wedding. I think we had a blast. I mean, did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a blast. And you know what's one thing? Like I've probably been in about 4 or 5 weddings now.
Really?
The thing people always tell me is that the outfit you chose, the groomsman outfit, they're like, that's the best one.
Really?
Yes.
What was it about? What do you think?
It's different.
Okay.
Because it was what, like cream colored with like the blue accent. I don't know. It just
Something
it
like
was
that.
nice. It was a real nice one.
All
the rest are dark colors,
Yeah, I wish to God I was a dark color. Good Lord, I was almost 400 pounds at that time. I look back at some of those photos and I'm like, holy crap. Like, well, there's one right on the wall right there. And it's like, oh my God. I had on a cream, as you said, a cream color, and we're wearing Chucks. My wife and I both wore Chucks. And I remember we had different music, none of the traditional music. It was like wrestling music. We had like NWO Wolfpack for the groomsmen. And I had like Kevin Owens theme, and she had like Paramore.
Yeah.
I remember like my mother and all these people like, the groom doesn't get music. I'm like, fuck that, I get music.
That's right. Yeah, we were like, Gary's going to have his big entrance, and like, they made a stink about like, is this going to take away from Heather?
Heather was cool
she
with
was
it.
like, no, I want him to do it. I want him to take away from
Yeah, because I was kind of getting cold feet about it. I was going to like pull back like, all right, I'll just stand there. And then word got back to her, and she's like, no, you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing the thing.
And then what, after you guys, they said you may now kiss the bride, I think we all did the
Daniel Bryan, yes. There was a lot of wrestling at this wedding. I wish I had, I have it on video. I have the whole thing on video. I wish I had different camera angles because that could have been like a really cool viral video, I think.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But we never did that. And I look at that photo now and I'm just like, God damn, look at how gigantic.
Well, how long after that did you start your weight loss journey?
January 17, that was September of 15, so about a year and 3 months, roughly.
Okay.
3 or 4 months, yeah. So
you look great now. Oh my God.
Well, thank you. I'm still not there yet, but I'm okay. I put it to you this way: this is a 2X.
Wow.
I was in a 5X there.
Jeez.
So that's,
wow.
and there are certain shirts that are XL that I can wear. It's all how they're cut, pretty much.
Okay.
Every clothes fits differently.
Yeah.
So I have some XLs in my closet that I can put on right now, and they look fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I noticed, I like when you do these subliminal things. I don't know if I've heard you talk about them necessarily as much, but I do follow you on social media and like watch all your Instagram and stuff.
Well, I appreciate it.
I see lose 100 pounds. Check.
Yes.
I see meet Gary V.
Check. Yes.
I see run the 5K.
Check.
And did I see correctly, the next thing that has not been checked is skydive?
Yes.
Wow.
I was kind of waiting for the summer when it's warmer.
Okay.
Like it's too cold. Virginia's too fickle with their weather.
I thought about it and I was like, well, what is he waiting for? And then I was like, wait, this guy's at King's Dominion every day. He's probably not scared to do this.
No. I mean, there's always going to be that fear.
Okay.
Like, there's always going to be the fear. And I thought maybe I'll go on the Extreme Sky Flyer at King's Dominion just to like, not that it's in any way the same thing, but just the being tied to something and like floating in the air. Maybe it's like kind of close. I don't know.
Is this something you've talked about on here yet? Or
there's been a couple podcasts have talked about it, I think, but never like in great detail, just that it's on the list. The thing about it too is that you've got to be like a certain weight. I think you can't be like over 250 or 260 or something like that. The only problem is that I've shifted my focus because I lost the first 100, and now I've focused on weights because I didn't want you're going to have sagging skin no matter what you do, but I wanted to try to catch it while it's still relatively large around the 270 range and starting to tighten it up. So as I'm lifting the weights, I'm putting muscle on.
Yeah, which weighs
and
way more than the fat.
I've gained between 5 to 10 pounds just putting muscle on.
Yeah.
So I'm going up, not down.
Right.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with, but it kind of puts the skydiving thing, farther away the more I think about it, unless I can find a place it's like, I don't give a fuck how big you are, we can do it. You know, if I find that, then game on. But
right.
It's something I put on the list, and I intend to do it when I hit the right number and when it gets warmer, because I didn't want to do it like in January when it's like 30 degrees outside. We didn't get like warm weather till like April, late April.
This year sucked. Oh
yeah,
my God.
It really did.
And now it's been raining every day.
I know it's raining right now. There's like little lightning and stuff going on out there. So, but no, it's on the list. It's something I want to do, and you know, I learned in this last 15 months that, you know, I've learned a lot about myself, and that's what a lot of what this podcast is, a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the stuff we talked about today, a lot of stuff I've talked about on this podcast, the dad stuff and all this other stuff that I mentioned is all, you know, self-reflection stuff. I've learned to, you know, think more about where I've been, where I'm going, and process things differently. And you know, I value my friendships and people that I speak with. And even though I'm not the greatest communicator, and I'm trying like hell to get better at it, you know, and I started this clothing line and all this other stuff that I'm doing. It's just like, I try to keep myself busy. So whether it's recording a podcast with an old friend, putting up t-shirts on the internet, posting stuff on social media, whatever it is, I'm constantly trying to stay busy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do all these things, and you know, I'm really happy where I am. You know, even though I've went up 5 pounds or whatever, it's all in muscle. So like, I always tell people, like with the scale, like people put too much stock in the scale. I watched it for the longest time because I think when you start out, you should pay somewhat attention to it. And you know, I was like, well, let me lose this 100 pounds first, and then it becomes less of an emphasis. And then you just keep going. Yeah,
I could see that. I mean, but you know, the results itself, I know, is a reward. But one thing, like I told you, I wanted to talk about was that Miz video.
Let's talk about it. What do you want to know about it?
I mean, I just wanted to tell you, like, that I watched that video like no joke, like probably 100 times, and it just makes me so happy. Like the pure joy that is on your face, like the pure shock, all joy, and it's just like it made me so happy for you that like you lost 100 pounds and like. But that's not like, okay, that's a reward. That's like you worked your fucking ass off for that, and you made it happen. This is almost like a bonus, you know?
It really was. And I mean, I don't know. I may have shared the story on the podcast. I may have not. I don't. Can't go into a lot of detail because there's like, you know, logistics involved. But basically, long story short, my cousin, technically my cousin-in-law, but, you know, I don't consider in-laws and steps and all this. I'm just like, you're my cousin. Like, I don't, you know, third, fourth, fifth, you're just my cousin, whatever. So anyway, my cousin arranges this without me knowing, without my wife knowing. You know, nobody knows about it. And there comes this day where she makes the call to my wife, and it's like, "Where's Gary? You know, I need to tell him about something," or however they framed it. I don't remember, but she clues Heather in as to what it is. And when I get home, you know, because Heather's blowing my phone, where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? We got to talk. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell's going on here? I don't know what's going on. And with my cousin, you know, she works in LA, in Hollywood, and I'm thinking it's probably some great announcement. Maybe she's working with some big name that I like, you know, because she's worked with a lot of big name people. She's worked with The Rock. She's worked with a lot of people. And so with Steven Spielberg, she worked with a lot of people. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, cool. Maybe she's going to share something. So I get home, and my wife's like, sit down. And I'm like, all right. She's like, pull out your phone. I want you to record this, like video record this. I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, I don't know. It's like, am I about to be punked? You know, like Heather joked with me. She's like, oh, I was thinking about telling you I was cheating on you or something. And like, you know, she thought about doing that.
Oh, no.
Which would have been quite crazy considering my past. But so anyway, I set the phone down on the dresser and we FaceTime her. It had to be a FaceTime. And Heather has the video on her phone queued up. And she's like, okay, close your eyes. That's when the video comes in that you see.
So you're watching it on her phone while it's being recorded on your phone?
Yes.
And who's on FaceTime?
Jade, my cousin Jade's on FaceTime. And she's watching my reaction.
Oh, I got you.
She's like, there's something that I wanted to show you. You know, you've made all this great progress. You know, I love you. You've been supportive of me, and you're awesome, and blah, 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 all the things she said. And she's like, I wanted to do something for you. So Heather, play the tape. Heather plays the tape, video rolls in, and this is what I see. Heather and Gary Cantrell, or Gary and Heather Cantrell. I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, what?
What? What? I think that was the exact thing. Yeah. And the video rolls, and I am just flabbergasted. I could not believe this.
That moment to me when he goes, hard work always wins. Oh my God. I was like, that's the best.
To use the wrestling phrase, I popped.
Yeah.
I popped huge for that, man, because, a lot of people, I've had people that have questioned me about, what is the motive behind the clothing and all this stuff. And I said, at the forefront, it's a phrase that I coined that motivated me.
Yeah.
I had a before, I don't call them before and after, I call them before and during. I had a before and during picture, shows you where I was before I started and where I am in the middle of my journey. And somewhere in that phrase, I thought of hard work always wins. I don't know how I came up with it. It's just something that I was thinking of at the time. I put it in the caption, and a bunch of people were like, holy crap, I love this. And I'm like, wait, I love this. This motivates the hell out of me. And I started using it a lot in captions on Instagram. And I remember like the old Rocky movies where like they had those like cheaply printed shirts that said like win Rocky win, like custom like faded boxing shirts.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd be kind of cool if I printed out a hard work always wins t-shirt to wear at the gym. Maybe it might motivate me. And I thought about it a little bit more, and I started I got one prototype, and I wore it at the gym, and I wore it out. I could show it to you before you go, but it's faded. Like I put this thing through the ringer, okay? And I was like, people were responding like, this is really motivational. Where'd you get that shirt? Was like the most common question I'm asked. And I'm like, well, you can get it here. And I put up a store. I trademarked it. I own the legal trademark to this phrase.
Wow.
And ever since then, people have said that it motivates them. But I tell people it's not just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I live it.
Yeah.
I speak it, I wear it, I live it. That's like the subtitle of it. I speak it, I wear it, I live it. And it's just so true. It's a brand. It's a brand designed obviously to become a business and generate income, but more importantly than all that, it is a mantra that I live. It's something that I live it every single day of my life. It's not just some bullshit cute phrase. It's not some cute meme on an Instagram post. It's a living, breathing, active, ongoing story about my life, but it just so happens that other people can relate with it.
Yeah.
And that's really the origin of it. I'm glad that you asked me because I wanted to clear that up because people, they're questioning. I think some people question the motives about it. Like, oh, this guy's just trying to profit off of. I'm like, no, like look at the prices of my shirts. They're like below $25.
Yeah.
Like,
and anyone that knows you should know that's not Gary Cantrell at all. Like for you, if you were to just create this as I can capitalize financially on my weight loss. No, this comes from a beautiful, like, organic place that motivated you. And it was something that organically, again, on its own, seemed like it started to get legs and grow. And other people were getting inspired. And then you started making, I mean, if you can, like, preach it and make a little money off it, why not? But if it truly comes from a real place, then it's going to be successful, I think.
Yeah, I think the realness rises to the top. I mean, if this was some fake thing, it would have crashed and burned months ago already. And I encourage anybody, if you have a story, number one, share it because that's the most important thing. That's how this whole thing got started. I just started sharing this journey. But number two, it's like if you want to write a book about it like I'm doing, write a book about it. Do podcasts, do Instagram, which is what most of these people do. And the people that have said stuff, this is like out of 100%, this is like 2 or 3% of people that, most people have been extremely supportive about it, and I'm very thankful for that. Many people have gone on the website and they've gotten stuff, and it means the world. They post pictures of them wearing it.
Yeah.
And
I see a lot of that.
That blows me away, dude. Like, that blows my mind.
That's like the equivalent of what we were talking about earlier. People singing your words back into your face.
Yeah.
Seeing them wear your words on their shirt, like.
But even bigger, even bigger. It's like they're in the gym, like they're putting in that work, they're grinding for that, man. I love that. That's the ultimate high is to see somebody else putting in the work, and they get the message, and they're just all about it, man. They're going all in on it. I love that.
And it's cool that you're very accessible with those people too. Like I see a lot of them like that'll post that I bought my hard work always wins, and then like you'll do a podcast with them or you'll talk to them.
Yeah,
it seems like you actually get to know them.
I try to do it as much as I can. I mean, look, I know that there's a lot of these like celebrities on Instagram or wherever, and you reach out or you try to reach out and you never hear from these people. Now I get it; they're very busy. They probably have a million followers or 100,000 or whatever.
They might not even run their account.
They may not even run their account. More importantly, that's a great way to put it. But I try to make it to where if you hit me up, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I get to every message. I try to get to each and every message. I've had a few that slipped through the cracks. People were like, hey, you never wrote me back, you asshole, fuck you, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I tried. Last week on the podcast, I was talking with this guy, Eddie Lindenstein, and we were talking about that. I'm like, people that follow me, I try to make an effort to follow everybody back that I can. Like, I'll scan their profile and make sure they're not like some scammer. But like if you've got absolutely nothing on your profile or it's private and there's no bio and I don't know who the hell you are, like, sorry. Or you're a business, like buy my pills, buy my wraps.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
Can't do it. But you, man, I mean, let's wrap it up with a bow. Dude, I'm like, now that you're in the restaurant, man, you've got all the creative juices flowing in my head. I'm like, man, you should be doing a podcast. You should be doing a YouTube. You should be Instagram storying. Like, people would be fascinated by this stuff. Like, I'm fascinated by it.
I mean, look at all the shows right now that are like, Kitchen Nightmares, Bar Rescue, like all those shows. I mean, they're popular right now. Food game is huge right now.
Think about it like this. I'll leave you with this. Think about it like this. You think about these shows like all the shows you just mentioned, okay? You think about the people that watch these shows over and over and over again. Now, you think of it in terms of a local business, okay? If you somehow built a following on like an Instagram and you were interactive with the people that came across your page and you were posting content behind the scenes, because a lot of this stuff is very close, because a lot of these places are shady as fuck and their kitchens are nasty and all this other stuff. But like, let's just say everything's on the up and up, and I believe it is, because if you're running the ship, you're a good dude. I believe you got it running right. So if you were behind the scenes, man, this is how we make this, boom, boom, boom. Like, you had a little Instagram story. It's like the first slide is part of the food. Second slide is the second part of the food. Third, like you had like the story that like builds a plate out or whatever, like random stuff. People love this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then if it goes the next step, you could have like an Instagram live, like you interviewing another restaurant person. Like, man, how'd you get into business? Yeah, we're just talking shop. Yeah, I was washing dishes. I was doing this. I was doing that.
Yeah.
You could cultivate all this content just on Instagram alone. Forget the fact we haven't even got to a podcast. You could have a setup like this. You sit down at a table in a restaurant, which is a cool ass setting, set up a GoPro or a DSLR, and you could record it for YouTube. And next thing you know, you've got this amazing piece of content of you like behind the scenes at some restaurant, and you guys are talking shop. I mean, does this not sound in any way intriguing?
Oh, it does. Yeah, because I think there's definitely a huge audience for it.
Yeah. So I'll leave you with that, man. We'll end this podcast on a high note. Like, first of all, I'm gonna throw you out the fist bump. I'm proud of you getting a manager position. I think that's amazing. But dude, you could be a content creator, and you could impress the hell out of your bosses.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave you this because none of them will probably hear the show. Imagine this. You find out, I'm sure they probably already have an Instagram. If they don't, they need to get one. First of all, it's step one. You take over that. That's your baby, right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't let it interfere with your work, obviously, but you post content and you engage with these people. You got the hashtags, the locations, and all this stuff. Let's say you build it 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 followers, and you go to the people in charge, like, and you're like, yeah, I did this. And you have like special Instagram story coupons. And Instagram in the story, it's only 24 hours. Hey, we got this coupon. Mention this story and get, 5-10% off. Right?
Yeah,
you
that's
have
a good
to mention
idea.
this story.
Yeah.
You have to show your phone to the server or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it shows these people came in, and they can put in a coupon code in the system in their POS. I hope I'm using the right terminology.
Yes,
It says
yes.
Instagram story, right?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, 6 months down the line, you have this whole paperwork trail of, Brian was in charge of the Instagram, and we brought in, 30% of the customers in the last 6 months were from Instagram.
Yeah.
you look like a fucking stud.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Then they're gonna give me more money.
Then they're going to give you more money. And then you're like, well, man, this is going really well. Now I can do a podcast or a YouTube or a combination of both. And I would seriously consider start on Instagram and see what happens.
All right.
That might
I
be
like that.
That might be legit, dude.
I think so.
I'm telling you.
Because you can easily get 3,000-4,000 under like a big thing like a restaurant.
Dude, okay. I know I said wrap it up with that. This is absolutely the last thing. You've been so generous with your time. Bozelli's, you go there? You eat there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They randomly followed me on Instagram like 2 weeks ago.
Wow. How many followers do they have?
I want to say they're up there like almost 2,000 or whatever. We'll look after this is done. And they randomly follow me. Immediately, they DM me with a coupon offer. Immediately.
Wow.
I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Now, I'm on my weight loss journey. I didn't go there that night. It wasn't cheat night. But the fact that they DM me a coupon, I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they were doing something like a contest. They had a contest. So this is the other thing, a giveaway.
Okay.
They said, comment on this post, tag 2 friends. Like this post, make sure you're following us, tag 2 friends. And the winner's going to get 2 free large pizzas. I won.
No way.
I won. Yep. So I went in the restaurant, bought the 2 pizzas, or I didn't buy the 2. They gave me the 2 pizzas, but I bought other stuff. So they brought me into their place. They gave me some stuff, and then I ended up buying other stuff while I was there. So they're still getting money at the end of the day. Yeah. But they brought in another person. Now, I've been going to Bozelli's for years. I remember when they were on Richmond Highway.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake. But it's just it's a clever way. Giveaways, Instagram stories. I'm telling you what right now, if you don't have an Instagram account for this restaurant, get one. If you already do, take over that shit. Go tell them, I want to make this my baby. And then you take over it and you watch your stock rise as you blow up the restaurant stock at the same time. I'm telling you what, in 6 months, you can come back on this podcast. I will invite you back on the podcast and you will tell me, holy crap, dude, this has changed my world.
All right.
Deal?
All right.
Brian, it's been so cool to catch up with you, man.
It's been
we
awesome.
did almost 2 hours here. This is amazing.
Wow.
An hour 40, hour 45, give or take. We've known each other for 15 years. We played in bands. We went through the entire oral history of our friendship. It's great to have you on the podcast, and I wish you all the best with this managerial stuff. Who knows? You could be a John Taffer yourself.
That's what I hope. People are always like, do you want to own your own restaurant? I'm like, yeah, but then I want to be Taffer. That's the main goal. I want to be Taffer.
We'll see. If you create all this content, you could take John Taffer's job. When John Taffer's head gets too big and they can't afford him, Paramount Network can't afford him.
Yeah.
They're going to say, who's creating this content on the internet? Oh, this guy, Brian Foster. We can get him real cheap.
Yep.
Boom. You're in it.
And then I'm
you're
famous.
In the cut. Yeah.
And then I'm not real cheap anymore.
Then you're not real cheap anymore. You can hike up your price.
All right. I like it.
And you're like, hey, I can't run this Instagram anymore. Who do I know? Oh, Gary knows how to run Instagram.
There we go. Oh,
here's a 6-figure income, Gary. We're good to go.
There we go. All right.
But I might be like, I don't know. These T-shirt thing might be. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, seriously, brother, it was a good time talking with you, man.
Great,
Thanks for doing the podcast.
Yes. Thank you.